Okay, so imagine this, right? You wake up on election day and bam, the internet's down. Candidates are getting disqualified left and right, and the whole thing feels rigged from the start.
Yeah, sounds a little sketchy.
Well, that was the reality in Pakistan's 2024 general election.
Oh, wow.
And we're diving deep into it today.
Sounds fascinating.
You, our listener, have brought us a ton of information on this. Articles, reports, we even got a whole white paper here.
Wow. Someone's been doing their homework.
Right, so we're talking accusations of blatant rigging, folks.
Yeah, we hear that term thrown around a lot.
Right, but this is serious stuff.
Right.
Particularly targeting Imran Khan and his party, PTI.
Okay, so where do we even begin with all this?
Let's rewind a bit. Back to the months leading up to the election.
All right, setting the stage.
Exactly. Now, for those not familiar with Pakistan's political scene,
Right, not everyone's a political science whiz.
it's a parliamentary democracy.
Yeah.
They have a prime minister, a president, all that.
Okay, pretty standard stuff.
But there's this powerful military establishment.
Ugh, that adds another layer of complexity.
It does. And then you have Imran Khan and his party, PTI, going up against the PDM coalition.
Okay, the main players.
So the stakes are high.
Of course. Elections shape the country's future.
Exactly. Fairness and transparency are crucial.
Absolutely. Which makes all this alleged rigging even more alarming.
Right. Now let's get to the pre-election shenanigan. Imran Khan was claiming a full-blown conspiracy to kick him out.
A conspiracy? Who was behind that?
He called it the London Plan.
The London Plan. That's straight out of a spy movie.
Right. He claimed it involved people inside Pakistan and some abroad trying to bring back Nawaz Sharif.
Okay, for those of us who need a refresher.
Nawaz Sharif was convicted on corruption charges, but fled to London for medical treatment.
Ah, right.
So Khan and PTI started seeing these efforts to sideline them.
What, like dirty tricks?
More than that.
Yeah.
We're talking forceful closures of PTI offices across the country.
Seriously, that's messing with their ability to campaign.
Exactly. Then there were these problems with filing nomination papers. PTI candidates being harassed, papers being snatched.
Wow, that's blatant.
Right. And an unprecedented rejection rate for PTI nominees.
It sounds like a pattern.
It does.
Ah,
And to get this, they even targeted Pervez Elahi's wife,
who's Pervez Elahi?
prominent PTI figure. And in another case, they abducted the women who were supposed to second and propose a PTI candidate in Iraq.
Abducted. That's insane.
It gets worse. They started disrupting the internet right when PTI was holding online rallies.
Oh, come on. That's messing with their ability to reach voters.
Exactly. Net blocks, the internet watchdog confirmed these disruptions.
It is not just hearsay.
Nope. And hold on, they even denied PTI their electoral symbol,
Their symbol, what was it?
the cricket bat.
Oh, come on. That's iconic.
Right. A huge blow to their campaign. The Peshawar High Court actually ruled in their favor, allowing them to use it.
Okay, so a bit of good news.
But then,
That's that.
the Supreme Court overturned it right before the election.
Suspicious timing, wouldn't you say?
You bet. And on top of all that, they restricted PTI's ability to hold peaceful assemblies. Amnesty International even raised concerns about that, saying it violated democratic norms.
It sounds like they were throwing everything they could at PTI.
They were. So by the time Election Day rolled around, PTI was already at a huge disadvantage.
Wow, what a mess.
And trust me, things were about to get a whole lot wilder.
Oh boy. I can't wait to hear what happened next.
Oh, you won't believe it. But we'll save that for the next part of this deep dive. Stay tuned.
I'm hooked.
It's almost unbelievable, you know. They shut down the entire internet on Election Day.
Seriously, wow, talk about controlling the narrative.
It's insane. Amnesty International even called it out, said it was a reckless attack on people's rights.
Yeah, I can see why. Imagine not being able to even contact your family on such an important day.
Exactly. But even with all that, people still turned out to vote.
That's impressive. Determined to have their say.
They were.
Yeah.
But even getting to the polls was a challenge.
What do you mean?
Polling stations opening late, staff missing, long queues everywhere.
Oh, come on, that's ridiculous.
Right. Bloomberg even had a post about it, showing these massive lines of people just waiting to vote.
So basically, chaos.
Total chaos.
Mm.
Some people were in and out in minutes, others waited for hours.
Talk about an uneven playing field.
It gets worse. Some polling stations just closed early, people still in line, and they're told to go home.
Seriously, what about the people who hadn't voted yet?
Their votes were basically disregarded, and to top it off, they made it really hard for observers to do their jobs.
Observers, you mean like election monitors?
Yeah. Media was barred from some polling stations, and even FAN observers were denied access to the results tabulation.
So, zero transparency.
Pretty much. But here's the thing, even with all this mess, early trends showed PTI winning in many places.
Really? They still managed to pull ahead?
It seems so. It really speaks to their popularity, despite all the efforts to suppress their votes.
That's pretty amazing.
It is. But then the official results started coming in. And, well, that's when the real controversy began.
Oh boy, what happened?
Big discrepancies. The initial trends showing PTI winning, and then the final count told a completely different story.
Wait, so the numbers didn't match up?
Not at all. And this is where the rigging allegations become really serious.
I am all ears. What kind of evidence is there?
Well, for one, the ECP didn't publish the Form 45s in time.
The Form 45s, what are those exactly?
Think of them as the original receipts from each polling station. They show the initial vote count, verified by agents from each party.
Ah, so the raw data, the foundation for the final results.
Exactly. Without those, it's almost impossible to properly check if the final count is accurate.
I see. So by withholding that information.
They made it much harder to scrutinize the results.
That's suspicious.
Right. And get this, there were inconsistencies between the Form 45s and the Form 47s.
Form 47s.
Those are the official documents they use to declare the winners. It's like the Form 45s is the receipt and the Form 47 is the final invoice.
Got it. So you're saying the receipt and the invoice didn't match up?
In many cases, no. PTI candidates who were ahead in the Form 45s ended up losing, often by a margin suspiciously close to the number of rejected votes.
Okay, that does sound like someone was trying to manipulate the results.
Exactly. And then you have testimonies from election officials themselves. Reports of polling agents being forced out during counting. Presiding officers threatened to change votes.
Wow, that's getting pretty scary.
There was even a confession from Liaquat Chatha.
Who's that?
He was the commissioner of Rawalpindi, admitted to rigging under pressure.
Wait, he actually confessed?
He did, though he later recanted his statement. Maybe pressure, maybe fear of reprisal.
Yeah, understandable in that situation. But still a pretty damning piece of evidence.
It is. So you have the internet shutdowns, the polling station chaos, the discrepancies in the results, and even confessions of rigging.
It paints a pretty clear picture.
It does. And this wasn't just limited to the general election. Even the by-elections later had similar problems.
So it was a pattern, not just a one-time thing.
Right. But through it all, PTI stayed strong. They challenged the results, especially where they saw clear manipulation.
Good for them. They didn't just roll over.
And that's where the whole reserved seats issue comes in.
Reserve seats, what are those?
So in Pakistan's system, they have seats reserved for women and minorities.
Oh, interesting.
These seats are allocated based on how well a party does overall.
Makes sense.
But remember, many PTI candidates ran as independents because of those disqualification fears.
Right.
So they had to team up with another party to claim those reserved seats.
So who did they join forces with?
The Sunni Ittihad Council, SIC. But then the ECP denied them those seats.
Why? Because they ran as independents.
Exactly. The ECP said since they weren't officially with the party at the time, they couldn't get those seats.
But their candidates still won, right?
They did. PTI argued that Article 51 of the Constitution lets independents join a party within 3 days of the election. Those seats should have been counted towards the party's total.
So basically a technicality.
That's what many people thought. Legal experts even criticized the ECP's decision, calling it a violation of the Constitution.
Wow, so even when PTI tried to play by the rules, they still got hit with roadblocks.
It's a mess. And the international community was watching all of this unfold.
What do they have to say about it?
The EU, UK, US, they all called for investigations. Some US representatives even accused the military of interfering.
Seriously?
David Cameron, the former UK Prime Minister, also spoke up, expressing concern about the lack of fairness.
It sounds like the world wasn't buying the official story.
Nope. They saw the same problems everyone else did, and the media played a huge role in getting the truth out there.
Good. Someone had to hold those in power accountable.
Time magazine ran an article titled, "How Pakistan's Election Was Rigged." Other outlets like RFRL and The Economist also covered the issue, highlighting the challenges PTI faced.
So despite the attempts to control the narrative, the truth still got out.
It did. And it's thanks to the media and those brave enough to speak up about what they saw. It really makes you think, if a party with this much support can be pushed aside, what chance do others have?
Yeah, it's a worrying precedent. Shows how fragile things can be, especially when institutions are weak, easily influenced. Makes you realize democracy isn't something you just get. You gotta fight for it, protect it, you know.
So what can be done? Is there any way to make things better, more democratic in Pakistan?
Well, there's always hope. But it takes work, a real commitment from everyone involved. First off, you gotta strengthen those democratic institutions, make sure they're independent, impartial. Like the Election Commission, it needs to be totally autonomous, free from pressure from political parties or anyone else trying to pull strings.
Like a referee who calls it straight down the middle, no matter who's playing.
Exactly, but it's not just about the institutions themselves, it's the people too.
Right, citizens have to be involved.
Absolutely. Informed citizens, keeping an eye on things, demanding accountability, transparency, that's a powerful force. And of course, you need independent media, civil society groups doing their part, keeping those in power honest, exposing any wrongdoing.
So strong institutions, active citizens, a free press. But what about the rest of the world? Can they do anything to help?
They can, definitely. Diplomatic pressure, supporting those civil society groups, promoting initiatives to strengthen democracy, like funding, technical assistance for groups working on electoral reform, voter education, media freedom, all of that makes a difference.
Sounds like a lot of moving parts. But it all feels so overwhelming, What can one person do? It all seems so big.
I get it. But every little bit counts, trust me. Stay informed, talk about these issues, support those organizations fighting for democracy. Even just sharing information with your friends and family helps. It all adds up.
It's a reminder that we can't just sit back and wait for someone else to fix things. We all have a part to play in defending democracy, whether it's here at home or across the globe.
That's right. Democracy isn't a spectator sport. It needs everyone to participate, to be active. And the more we understand what's going on, the better equipped we are to make a real difference.
Well, this deep dive into the 2024 Pakistani elections has been a real eye-opener. We've gone beyond just the events themselves and looked at what it means for democracy as a whole. It's a story of manipulation, resilience, and that ongoing fight for a better, fairer world.
And it shows us just how precious, how fragile democracy is. It needs constant attention, a commitment to truth and fairness, and that unwavering belief that power ultimately lies with the people.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this episode has sparked your interest, inspired you to learn more about the challenges, the opportunities facing democracy in Pakistan and beyond. Remember, knowledge is power, and informed citizens are the bedrock of any strong, thriving democracy.